Yeah, you got it, man. You got Mr. South Africa. 2021 we have here in his presence.
Good day, good people. My name is Kanya Lungwana, and I am going to be talking to Bjorn, who was a bond originator. And on this channel, we're just going to be sharing information around the property space. We'll be talking to lawyers, we'll be speaking to agents who have been in the game for long. We'll be speaking to anybody that knows anything about the property game. And like I said, I'm joined by Bjorn. Bjorn Prinsloo.
Correct.
Yes, sir. How are you doing?
I'm well, yourself?
I'm all good. I'm all good.
Great.
So,
firstly,
yes.
I'd just like to say thank you for giving me this opportunity to share some of my knowledge and to answer some of the questions that you do have.
Thank you for agreeing to come on to the show. Bjorn is officially the first guest of the show. That wasn't my plan, but where things go out of your control. But he's here.
I'm here.
You're not such a bad first start, okay? You're not a bad start. So Bjorn, I just want us to, we have a few questions that I want to ask you regarding the property space. As I felt like when I'm starting this channel, the first person to bring upon on the show would be a bond originator, because every person goes actually through you. You are they start by you.
Correct.
So basically just give us a brief description of what a bond originator does.
Okay, so a bond originator in the simplest of terms is the middleman between yourself, which is an estate agent, and the potential purchaser. So we're in the middle, and what we would do is it's our responsibility to apply to all the banks on behalf of the purchaser, and to obviously see what the best offer is that we can get for them from the various banks. Further than that, what we also do is we do pre-approvals. So I would highly recommend pre-approvals up front, because this gives you a really good idea of, number one, how much you qualify for, which price range it is that you can go looking for a property, and number two, what does your credit score look like. So those are the two of the probably the main criteria that the banks look at when a potential purchaser wants to purchase a property. So we do the pre-approval free of charge. We don't charge anything. And once the pre-approval is done and we know how much you qualify for, what your credit score look like, if everything is in order, we issue the purchaser with a pre-approval certificate stating how much they qualify for, which price range they can purchase, and we CC the estate agent in there, so the estate agent knows exactly what to purchase or what to find for his potential client as well. So in a nutshell, like I said, we are the middleman between the purchaser and the estate agent.
Yeah. Okay. No. And I've had the pleasure of working with Bjorn, and they're quite efficient. In what they do. You send them the details that you need: 3 months bank statement, 3 months pay slip, and the ID copy, and he'll get you on that same day a pre-approval.
If I could add to that, it's not the estate agent's duty to get the pay slips, IDs, bank statements. Some estate agents do that, which speeds up the process, but all we need as a bond originator for firstly the pre-approval is Mr. Estate Agent sends me a contact number, Bjorn, please phone my client. We'll do the rest. So it's our duty and our responsibility to get that, but some agents do get the bank statements, pay slips and IDs and forward it on to us. But we technically just need a telephone number and we phone the client.
They have airtime, people. They have airtime. Alright.
WhatsApp call data.
Okay, so you've answered the first question. And tell me, this is the question that I was at a braai, and I was with a bond originator there, and I was like, his name is Jasper, and I was like, Jasper, tell me, who pays you, Jasper? I've only been curious about this. Bond originators are the nicest people on earth, okay? And I'm like, who pays these guys? Because when I first got into property, I'm only a year into property. So when I first got into property, I heard, okay, I understand the commission is going this side and this side, okay, fine. Then there was these guys that are called a bond originator, who are very eager to help me. And then I was like, are they getting a cut on my salary? Are they getting a cut on my salary? Who pays a bond originator?
Okay, so in all transparency, our contracts as bond originators are with the various banks. So hence our service is free to the estate agent, our service is free to the potential purchaser. So what happens once we receive an OTP and the necessary documents, we submit it to all the banks, and as we start receiving feedback from the banks, we keep the estate agent and the purchaser updated. Once the purchaser has made a decision in terms of which bank they want to go to, we'll do the necessary on our side, and on registration, the bank pays us. So our contracts are strictly with the various banks. So hence, we don't charge a fee from the estate agent or from the purchaser. The bank, yeah.
Is you're right.
Correct.
So can a person go directly themselves to the bank to get a bond, and like what are the disadvantages of that?
Okay, definitely. There's absolutely nothing stopping a purchaser from going directly to the bank, and I'll just put it in as an example. You have a purchaser, the purchaser does not want to use the bond originator. What are the disadvantages? Okay, let's say I'm the purchaser.
Yes.
So now I need to go into bank A to fill in the forms, submit my documents, payslip, ID, bank statement, etc., send it to them. First, I need to go probably sit in a long queue. Then I need to go repeat the same process at bank B, physically walk in, sit in the queue, fill in the same information over and over and over, go to bank C, do the same thing, go to bank D, do the same thing. So I mean, I don't have time to go sit in firstly in a queue and then fill in the same information over and over and over. So that is one disadvantage, time factor and repetition. The second disadvantage is, let's say you want to negotiate a better rate with a bank. So now you literally need to go to bank A, get information from bank B, get it from bank A, send it to bank B, get it from bank B and send it to C, etc. So for me, that is a disadvantage. It takes up lots of your time.
Yes, it's a lot of time and energy.
And it's time and energy, and it's repetitive. Whereas the advantage of going directly with a bond originator, we only deal with home loans. In a bank, the consultant deals with home loans, vehicle finance, savings account, credit. So, not taking away from them, I'm not saying they're not specialists, but they need to concentrate on 20 other products. Whereas we focus specifically on home loans, and we become very good at home loans. So the advantage of using a bond originator would be, number one, it's one form that you complete instead of 4 different forms. We send it to all the banks on your behalf. As we get feedback, we will forward it on to you. If needed, we do negotiate better rates. So if the client says, but why is this bank offering a better rate than that bank? I bank at this bank, but that other bank is offering a better rate. We then in turn can negotiate because we now have permission. We're not a third party. You know, we can actually go directly to the banks and say, but your client banks with you, but this bank is giving a better interest rate. So there is advantages, much more advantages to going with the originator. And we also have very strong relationships with the various banks. So if needed, you don't get a 100% bond, you get a 90% bond. And myself and you as the purchaser, we have a conversation, and there's certain things that I pick up. We can then use that to strengthen your bond application and then put the motivation through to the bank to maybe push for 100%. So there's much more advantages to using a bond originator than going directly outside.
No, it makes perfect sense for me. Yeah, I get it. Question number 4: explain to us the interest rate. What it is and why should like potential homeowners care that it is 7% at the moment?
Okay.
Sorry, just to add on that, last week we were told that the prime rate also will be staying the same, right? Could you just explain on that as well? Yeah.
Okay. So interest rate currently it is on 7%. That's the prime lending rate, right? That's the. Let's take it a step back. So you have the Reserve Bank. So the Reserve Bank borrows to the traditional bank at a specific interest rate of, I think the interest rate is 4%, and then the banks borrow 3% over and above what the Reserve Bank gives it to them. So hence it's always 3% above what the Reserve Bank is. In this case now it's 7%. So that will be the prime interest rate, 7%, what the banks offer, right? The prime lending rate of the country is. So the reason why it's a good time to buy now, firstly, it's been decades since the interest rate has been this low.
Mm.
Secondly, if you are a potential purchaser but you are renting currently, it's more than likely that your affordability will be more now because of the interest rate, and you can afford your own home. So the installment of a home might be the same or even less than what you're paying when you're renting currently now. So it would make sense to own your own property than owning or paying someone else's property off, right? So that would be the two main reasons right now to purchase a property, because of the low interest rate. If you could just repeat the other part of the question.
It was. Oh no. It was, you answered it because it was why
Okay.
should potential homeowners care that it's 7% at the moment.
Yes.
But yeah, I understood it.
When it comes to the interest rate as well, so let's say for example, prime is 7%. There's different categories when you apply at the bank, and I'll explain that a bit. So a first-time home buyer, as an example, you can apply for up to 105%. So most banks offer that, but there's different criteria for each bank. So this is off the interest rate. This is on the LTV, what you can purchase for.
Yes.
But it will tie into the interest rate now as well, and I'll explain now. So let's say for example, you're a first time buyer and you want 105%. That 5% will cater for a portion of the attorney fees.
Okay.
Okay? The rest you'll still have to come up with. But the higher the loan to value, the loan amount that you make, the higher the interest rate is going to be, because it's a risk to the bank. So let's say for example you apply for 105%, this is purely example, then the bank gives you a 9%, right? Let's say you apply for 100%, the bank will give you 8% as an example. Let's say you apply for a 90%, so you're putting down a 10% deposit, so it's less risk for the bank. Now they give you 7%. As an example, we say, okay, I have a 20% deposit. Okay, then the bank say, I'll give you 6%. So that is how you can determine or kind of, not manipulate, that's not the word, but try and secure a lower, or what influences the interest rate. Let me put it that way as well. So the higher the LTV, the higher the interest rate. The bigger the deposit, the more than likely the lower the interest rate will be.
Man, Dion, my goodness.
So a deposit does help.
I knew you were a funny guy, but I didn't know you're smart as well.
Yeah, look at you. Looking, this is my good side.
Look
I
at
told
you.
you my good
Yeah,
side.
you got your good side. My goodness. What? Oh man, I'm learning.
I got some tricks here.
You're shocking me. So tell me, what is the most common mistake people make when buying a new home?
Okay, so lots of people, when they're out in the market, they start looking for a property, and whenever they take advice from this one, they take advice from that one, whatever the case may be. Some of them take loans, which could negatively affect your affordability. The reason for the loan is to pay for the attorney fees. So that's the one thing. Try not to take unnecessary debt if you don't have to make unnecessary debt. I think that would probably be the biggest thing, because firstly, the different type of debt has different weighting at the credit bureau. So a personal loan, this 1 month loan, is probably the worst that you can take, because every time you take it, it reduces your credit score and you need to rebuild it up again. A longer term loan, like 6 months, 12 months, still bad debt, if you could put it that way, in the eyes of the credit bureau. So that will also reduce your credit score. So generally try not to take debt if you don't need to take debt up front. Another thing that we always educate and speak to once we have a final in place, so we've submitted it to all the banks and we got feedback and the client says, I want to go with bank X. The one thing that we always tell our clients is, there's a little clause in there that says, between now and registration, we as the bank have the right to go do another credit check. So if you have taken out additional debt between now and registration, we have the right to review your application, and if that debt has negatively affected your affordability, we can decline it. So another thing is, don't take out debt between acceptance and registration. So yeah, I'd say those are the two main things. Don't take out unnecessary debt if you don't have to.
Sure. can two people, I remember I got this as a question
Mm-hmm.
at one of the clients that I had, can two people who are boyfriend and girlfriend buy a home together, and what can they do with the property when they break up?
So let's not discriminate.
Mm.
Not just boyfriend and boyfriend as well.
And girlfriend and girlfriend. Okay, I got you. I got you.
See,
Okay, yeah.
But yes,
The
yes.
crux of it, they're not married. Okay.
Let's put it that way, yeah.
Uh-huh.
But yes, anyone can purchase together.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say, for example, you and your fiance purchase now,
Mm.
today as an example,
Mm.
and things don't work out,
Mm.
argument's sake, and there's one of two things that you can do.
Mm.
You can go to the bank and say, Mr. Bank, or you can put your property on the market
Mm.
and say, look here, things didn't work out, I want to sell it.
Mm.
Whatever you guys decide in the background, we're going to split the profit 50-50, whatever the case may be.
Mm.
You just put it back on the market and you sell it.
Mm.
Boom, that's off your names. Or you could try and, let's say for example, you want to keep the property.
Mm.
You want to keep the property. Go to the bank and say, look here, things didn't work out between me and my fiance
Mm.
or my wife, whatever the case may be.
Mm.
I want to take her off
Mm.
the property. What will, and I just want to run him. So what will happen then is, bank was okay, fine, not a problem. Let's see your credit score. Then it'll be like a new application again. Let's see your credit score. Let's see your income. Let's see your expenses. Can you afford to have this house on your name alone?
Mm.
So they'll do a reassessment.
Okay.
And if you're good to go, all good,
Mm.
they will remove her. Just have it on your name.
Okay.
If you can't afford it, if you can't, you don't pass that
Mm.
as an example, then you'll have to sell the
Sell,
property.
okay.
And then
Okay, so it's not that
it's,
complicated.
it's not. It's either or.
Okay.
Or you can keep it and you can decide. Okay, this is very thick. Doesn't involve a bank or whatever. Or you both can decide. Look here. Let's keep the house. Let's part amicably, so believe.
Mm.
And let's rent it out, but it's still our house.
Okay.
And then get a rental. I mean, that's just a
Mm.
personal
Mm.
decision that you
Yeah.
still can make.
Very
But yeah,
unlikely.
it's very unlikely. Very unlikely.
You might agree on burning
But,
down.
but there's a possibility. So yeah, but that's
Okay.
basically the options that you do.
Okay, no, that's very clear. If I buy a home, let's say the whole process is done, registration has happened, I have moved in, and I stay there.
Mm-hmm.
But now I don't like the area within the first month,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to sell. What is the process? What are the penalties from the bank? And how long should one take before selling their newly bought home?
I'd say firstly you didn't do your research, because why the hell did you buy in a place and then a month later you realize, damn it. But anyway, the agent got paid, so you
He's gone.
No, I'm kidding.
You need to sell again. I can help you.
Exactly, there you go, it's an opportunity. So basically, sorry, you have to then put it on the market, or you can go private, it's up to you how you want to go. You have to inform the bank, because obviously when you purchase a property, you're purchasing it with the bank's money,
Yeah.
and there's interest
Mm.
involved
Yeah.
that you have to pay. So you have to give a 3 months notice.
Okay.
Whether you just bought the house or you have it for 10 years and you're still owing on the property, you'd have to give that 3 months notice period to the bank. Because if it's sold prior to the 3 months, it's pro rata interest rate that you'd have to pay. So let's say it took you 2 months and 15 days to sell, then the remaining 15 days is pro rata interest that you have to pay.
Okay.
So firstly you need to give notice to the bank to say, okay, I would like to sell my property. You won't sell it at the profit, because you just bought the
Yeah,
profit. You know,
yeah,
you just
the
just
property.
bought the property.
Yeah.
So once you've done that, get an agent to help you market, and yes, go back to Kanye, and he will resell it, and you'll find your house in the area that you don't like, so you can come back a month later to resell it. Yeah, I like your strategy, man.
It's business.
I like it's business.
It's business and personal.
Yeah, so
Okay.
so
Alright.
basically give the notice to the bank, get an estate agent, unless you can sell it privately and then sell it. You won't get a profit. Unlikely.
Okay.
Unlikely.
Understood. Last question. How does the process of buying a property differ when it is a business rather than a person buying a property?
Okay, so the application process itself is very different. So you have one purchaser, which is salaried. He works for whoever, the government. So he earns he gets a pay slip, very straightforward. So we need your pay slip, ID, bank statement, application form. Finished, straightforward, in a nutshell. Then you get another person that is self-employed. So what we will need is a host of documents, the application form, your ID, your financials for the last 2 years, management accounts depending on when we get the financials, accountant letter, bank statements on the business, personal bank statements. So there's much more documents that's required if you're self-employed. So then what we do is, for the self-employed, we will capture it and submit it to the banks depending if you want the property in the name of the business. Then the banks will assess it, is there affordability in the business. If you want to self-employed and you want to apply through the business but on your name, then the banks will also look at the financials. Is there affordability? Is there sufficient? Is the business running at a loss? Is it in profit, etc.? The bank will do the necessary assessment. Then you also get trust accounts as an example. So you get various different type of trust accounts. So the business will be in the name of the trust, but then the trustees needs to stand surety. If it's a non-trading trust, the sureties, let's say so you're a surety, I'm a surety, and we want to buy in the name of a trust, they will use our income to see if there's affordability between ourselves, so that they can register it in the trust. So that would be like a non-trading trust. It goes more into detail, but I mean, we can do another video on that. And then there is that's non-trading. Then you get a trading trust as well, as an example. Trading property trust, and I have a portfolio of properties in this trading trust. Then they're going to need financials, they're going to need bank statements to show that you have been earning a rental income, etc., etc., etc. So there's just various types of entities that you can.
So when it's a business, it's more complicated.
It gets a bit more complicated, and that's where we would like to obviously assist them. What we try and do is, with the permission of the purchaser, is please let us speak to your accountant, or include your accountant in the email with a list of required documents, so that the accountant already knows. So it's not a broken chain from me to the purchaser to accountant. It's just like one email in the accountant, and it's always included. So that's how we try and just make it a bit easy.
Okay. In a few years, my accountant, when I have one, might be giving you a call.
Few months, man.
Hey, look at you!
Few months, speaking into the universe. In a few months. Here we go.
Few months.
Yeah.
So you better
I like it.
Get ready for me.
We're going to do a follow-up interview in a few months' time. So few months can be 12 months, which is a year, 24 months, which is 2 years, 36 months, which is 3 years. We said months. So it could be any amount of months. It could be 60 months. It's just be clear on that.
Smart.
There we go.
Bjorn, thank you very much for coming and talking to us and sharing this information. A lot of the questions that I asked here, I didn't know. A lot of them, though, I also did not know. I've learned a lot from sitting with you. This is the first time I'm sitting with Bjorn and I'm learning something.
I normally entertain. It's different.
But thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate it.
It's a pleasure.
Guys, we shall see you on the next episode. The name of the show. I forgot to say the name of the show. It's Property Talks. Proper Tea Talks.
I like it. You sure?
Property Talks. See you next time.